Hello everyone, this is Bill, Victor Echo 7 Alpha Juliet Kilo, and in this video I'm going to play with FT8 and WSJT-X and Grid Tracker. It's going to be a long form video, kind of a little bit an experiment that I'm doing here. It's probably going to be like watching paint dry, but there might be some of you out there that are interested in watching this type of thing. Maybe some of you are curious about FT8 or want to learn how to use it. This video might be for you. So what I'm going to do here is just play with FT8 for a while, see what kind of contacts I can make, see where I'm getting out, and along the way I'll show you some of the things that I've learned and that I use. I am by no means an expert in amateur radio or FT8. I'm just kind of stumbling through it as I go. So I may not be 100% accurate on some of the things I say, but please feel free to correct me in the comments. And if you have any feedback on this video, if you like what I did or you have some other ideas of what I could do, please leave some constructive feedback. If this ends up going well, which I don't really anticipate it going well, it's kind of a boring video topic, but we'll see. But if it does go well, I'd love to do live streams with this. So we'll just see how it goes and play it by ear. So I'll just go over my setup quickly here. I have in the top left corner, I have WSJT-X, and I am remote desktoping into that. It's over on my Linux laptop, and I'm running a MacBook here. On the top right and the bottom right, I have Grid Tracker running. So in the top, I have the main map screen, and in the bottom right, I have the call roster window, which I've only recently discovered, and I've only used it on one previous session, and it was really great. And yeah, I'm on 20 meters. It's end of February 2023, just about 8 p.m., and I am on the west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island. So I think I'll just go ahead and maybe I'll start just by calling CQ and see what happens. So see if we can find a clear frequency. I don't see anybody on here. So we'll go to 1900. Oh, hang on. All right, I'm already messing up at the start here. Let's erase that, go down to CQ. So while we're waiting for that to take off, a bit about my setup here. I am using, as I said, a really old Linux laptop. That's one thing that's really great about FT8 and a lot of these digital modes is you don't really need a powerful computer. The laptop I'm using, I think I bought in 2012, and it's by no means a powerhouse, and it runs FT8 fairly well. I've taken the laptop for POTA and for SOTA using FT8, and it works great. The only thing I really needed to upgrade on it was the battery. I got a new battery just to see, or just to have a longer session when I'm out in the field. For radio, I'm using a Yaesu FT891, and I'm running 10 watts right now. And my antenna is a random wire. It's about 84 feet in length. And I have it going around the side of my house and then up into a cherry tree I have, and then down the cherry tree a bit. So it's almost like an inverted V. Almost like if you took an L and put it on its side with the top pointing up. And then I have a 17-foot counterpoise coming off the end of that, which is slightly elevated. And that's all hooked up to a Nelson antenna 9-to-1 Ballon, which is coming very handy. And it seems to do the trick. I know it's, well, every antenna is going to be a compromise, but one reason I really like this is I can tune it from 10 meters to 80 meters. I haven't really been too successful in 80 meters, but 10 meters definitely has, and 20 meters as well. 40 meters, I don't use 40 meters too much, but it definitely works on there, which is great. And then under here, let's just see if anyone's coming back. calling CQ a few times. So underneath the SSH window, I have a web browser open. So I have PSK Reporter. This is a tool that shows you where your signal is getting out. So right now I have it filtered on my call sign. It's going to show me what other stations have heard me in the last 15 minutes. So you can see I'm getting out pretty well into the eastern side of the country, or of the continent, I suppose. And also a little bit into Japan, a little bit into Hawaii. Pretty weak signal in Japan there, though. Typically this time of the night, I can get into Japan fairly well and make quite a few Japan contacts. So hoping we get some of that later on. So no one's coming back to our CQ yet, but that's okay. Now a little bit about the call roster here. I only discovered this the last time I used FT8 here at home. And it's almost been like a replacement for the left-hand side of WSJT-X. As you can see, I'm kind of hiding that because last time I used it, I found I didn't even really need to look at that side of the screen too much. Now the reason for that, if you've ever used this before, and again, I'm not an expert, I don't know everything about this, but it shows you everybody who's currently calling CQ in your FT8 session or your WSJT-X session. And you can filter it by some of the different properties that you're searching for. So for example, here on the grid column, any grid square that I currently don't have, it'll highlight. And then if you double click on the grid, it shows you where it is in the map, which is pretty interesting. And then same with the call sign. If you haven't contacted that call sign, you can click on it. And then same with the DXEC and the state, and even right down to the county, which is pretty interesting. And then there's some other columns here. I don't know what they all mean, but I'm sure they're helpful in some way. And the interesting thing about this, I'm not going to do it right now because I'm calling CQ, but if you double click on the call sign, it'll actually generate all the standard messages for you over here, which is very handy. So we're not having much luck with our CQ. So I'll just let that go a couple minutes. If we don't get a response, then maybe I'll start hunting some stations. If you're wondering about the grids that you see, the colored grids on Grid Tracker, so as far as I know, the red ones are grids that I have a confirmed QSO in. So those would be ones that have been confirmed via Logbook of the World. The yellow, I believe, are ones where I've had a QSO, but it's not confirmed. The green squares are folks currently calling CQ. And the blue squares, I think, represent someone who's currently in a QSO. And then you can see these little dots on the screen too. These are the exact same dots that we see here on PSK Reporter. So it actually shows you where you're getting out, which is kind of nice. So my watchdog timed out, so we're no longer calling CQ. And I noticed there's a station on the same frequency. So I'm going to move back over to 1850. I don't think anyone's there. Oops. Oh. All right. Let's just erase that. I'll just let that go a couple cycles just to make sure no one's on that frequency. It looks like I'm getting down to New Zealand, which is kind of nice. That'd be pretty interesting to make a New Zealand contact. Let's bring the call roster up a bit. The call roster is getting quite long, which is nice. So yeah, this is probably as exciting as watching paint dry at the moment. So if you're still tuned in, that's great. I guess you're interested in FT8. But yeah, I don't blame you if you've turned it off by now. Here's a grid square I don't have. So another interesting thing is when you're looking at these grid squares that you're trying to get, oh, so we're in Russia. You can look at the PSK Reporter spots on the map here and see if you're actually being heard in that area. Let's just see if I can get any sort of CQ. So who's... Let's see if this guy calls CQ again. If so, we'll try and contact that call sign. Yeah, so he's calling CQ, so we're going to respond to him. And let's see what happens. So it looks like they're in... Oh, is that Missouri? I don't know all my state abbreviations, so we'll see what happens. If you notice when I'm transmitting in the grid tracker map screen, you'll see a dotted line going from my location, which is right about here, over to their location. So that red dashed line represents your transmission. The white lines represent other QSOs that are being translated from the left-hand screen in WSJT-X. So I transmitted, he called CQ. I don't know if he can hear my signal, but we'll find out. No, I'm going to turn it off after that. I don't think they can hear us. So I'll just turn it off and see what happens. If they call CQ again, then they definitely haven't heard us, and we'll try somebody else. Yeah, so now he's in a QSO with somebody else. So I don't think he could hear us. So let's erase that. And let's see. Oh, that person's really close. I don't know if I'd be able to hear them. That's pretty close. Oh, is that the same? That's almost the same grid square. Well, let's try and get Japan. Japan's calling in. We are getting spots over there. So let's put them up on the screen. See if they're still calling CQ. Yeah, they are. So let's enable transmission. Oh, there. I was wondering why I wasn't showing the transmission line, but there it is. So I think that's okay. So that's a grid square I've had a QSO with, but not a confirmed QSO. So it is a grid that I guess I need as well. So let's just see if they come back from my transmission. Nothing yet. You can also check if these users are logbook of the world users. So if you hover over, where was that feature? There was a feature where you could see that. Maybe see, here we go. So it's FT8 and yeah. So if you see on the very far right, there's a LOTW column with a check mark. So that means they are a logbook of the world station. So ideally, if we did have a QSO, then they would upload their logs to Logbook of the World, and I would do the same, and then I'd get that grid square confirmed. But I don't know if they can hear me. I'm not hearing anything back. So this is a pretty uneventful FT8 session so far. And if you're still sticking it out watching this, you must have just as a boring life as I do. Yeah, I don't think they can hear us, so I am gonna turn that off and we'll see what happens. And there's another Japanese station. Maybe I'll just let it go for a sec. So if you are an FT8 user and you're seeing some things that maybe I'm not doing the right way, which is definitely possible, or you have some tips for me, please let me know in the comments. That would be awesome. All right, so I'm gonna try this Japanese station. So they're calling CQ-DX. So they're looking for somebody outside of Japan. And I think, again, I think that's also a grid square. I don't have confirmed. So that'd be great to have that. Looks like I've had a QSO there, but just not a confirmed one through Logbook of the World. All right, so I don't think I got a full transmission window there, so we'll try here. Okay, we got a response. Minus 24, which is pretty much the weakest signal report you can get. But hey, it's a signal report, and we're hearing them at +6. So that's a good sign. So let's just play this. Let this play out and see what happens. If you notice there too, when we had a message come back, Grid Tracker had a little alert pop up. Okay, great. So we got the Roger 73, which is confirmed contact. So you can configure WSJT-X to pop up this window, which will log for you. So I keep the transmission power in there, and if you click this to retain it, that means the next time you have a log pop up, it'll keep that in there. And you'll notice that I have a Parks on the Air park reference on here, because I was doing Parks on the Air last time, but I'm not doing that now, so I'm going to remove that and log it. So that's great. We have our first contact of the night in Japan. Now let's see what else we have. It's a Mexican station. I don't really have too much luck getting into Mexico. Where's this person? Jefferson County, Tennessee, which is a grid I don't have. Confirm. Well, it says I don't. But it is showing up as red, so I'm not too sure how that works. EM 85? Maybe I should try calling this other Canadian station here. We'll see if they call CQ again. If they do, I'll answer it. Oops, I gotta click on their call sign. Let's go for it. So they're over in, looks like Ontario. Oh yeah, VE3 is Ontario. So they're 3,200 kilometers away. I didn't check the Japanese distance. Usually around 7,000, 8,000 kilometers, which is pretty cool when you think about it. A signal at 10 watts can travel that far. All right, we got a reply back from the VE3 station. -22. So we are getting out there, but it's a fairly weak signal. So maybe after this, I'll check PSK reporter, see where we're getting out and where we're getting out stronger. Maybe we want to aim our hunting to the areas of the world where we're actually heard fairly strong. All right, there's the Roger 73. So we have our second contact of the night in Ontario. There's the ding from Grid Tracker. Now we'll just double check that they got our 7.3. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so let's go to PSK reporter and see where we're actually getting out here. So +4, that's pretty good. Seems to be right here in the Great Lakes area. We're doing not too bad. Some down here as well. There's that Texas, Dallas area. How about Japan? So yeah, Japan, there's some, I mean, I don't know how much better a negative 15 is compared to a negative 24 like we had from the other person, but we are getting out there, so that's good. So I don't think all hope is lost. Let's just see who's calling CQ, or maybe we should start calling CQ. We'll see what happens here. And if things start to slow down on 20 meters, maybe I'll try 40 meters. And we'll see how that goes. If you have a favorite band that you like to use for FT8 or any other mode, please leave a comment and let us know what's your favorite band and maybe some reasons why. Maybe I'll try going for this Russian station. I don't know if we'll get them, but I think I was getting a signal report. Let's see, so there. No, I don't have a PSK report or signal report there. It was further south. Yeah, that was my signal report. I think that's Vladivostok. Is that how you say it? Anyways, we'll see if we can get this Russian station. It looks like they're in a QSO now, so might not get a response right away here. So that's 38, basically 3,900 kilometers away. Oh, look, we got a response, negative 18. Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's see if they got our transmission there. All right, very cool. We got a Russian contact. So I'll put that in the log. Get the ding from Grid Tracker. All right, well, we'll just let it go through a few cycles. We'll see who's calling CQ. There's a Mexican station. I don't seem to have much luck. Maybe my antenna orientation, but I don't usually have much luck getting into Mexico. But let's populate the messages. Oops. And if they call again, I'll go for it. Okay, let's see what happens. I don't think I have any PSK reports down there. Now that does not mean my signal's not getting there. There just may not be anybody reporting from that area. You never know. So they are 3,100 kilometers away. Their time delta is also slightly high. So if you're not familiar with what this means, is FT8 mode really depends on your clocks being synchronized. So DT stands for delta. So that's the time difference between us. So this station's clock is set half a second ahead of my clock. And if your clocks aren't synced, it can be a little bit tougher to make that QSO. I think in the manual it says anything above 1 is going to be pretty tough. I think if it's under 1, it's probably not too bad, but I'm not really sure. If you look on the left-hand side too, you can see all the time difference. So you can see we're fairly close with most people. 0.1, 0.2 I don't think really is going to make any difference. I could be wrong, but in my experience, it's basically been fine. So if you are new to FT8 and you're setting up your computer, you want to make sure that you have some sort of background process running to sync your clock. It's going to be different depending on what platform you're on, if you're on Windows or Mac OS or Linux. So you want to do a Google search for that. All right, I'm going to stop this transmission because I don't think they are hearing me. So what I was doing last session, if there was nobody calling CQ that had a grid or a DXCC or a state I needed, I was just going down to county. I really doubt I'll end up getting all counties in the US unless I do this for the next 30 years. But at least it's something. So just a bit more on the time syncing and the delta. You might be asking, oh, how does that work when you're in the field doing parks on the air or summit on the air on this Japanese station? Let's try and get him. Well, in my experience, typically, if what I'll do is I'll turn up or open the laptop, turn it on while I'm packing my bag, let the clock sync, and then go do my park activation or my summit. And as long as you're there within a few hours, it's typically fine. It's probably going to vary from machine to machine. All right, we got a response. Let's see what part of Japan they're in. So, southern end of Japan, just about 8,000 kilometers away. So if you are doing FT8 in the field and you want to be sure that your clock is always synced, so maybe you're going camping for the weekend and you're going to be off grid, you can get these little dongles that plug into your USB port, and they provide GPS, and then you can sync your clock via the GPS. I think they're fairly cheap on Amazon. I think probably under $25 US. So that's always an option too. But I've never had a problem, but I've also never gone on an overnight expedition. So if you're going overnight, you may want to look into something like that. All right, well, we've got another Japanese station in the log. Let's see who else is calling CQ. We're definitely having more luck going west than we are east, which kind of makes sense because that's where the gray line is. Here's a grid I don't have. Where are they? Well, I do have quite a few PSK reports near them. Let's see if they call CQ again, and maybe I'll go for it. So they're in Louisiana. Okay, let's try it out. Louisiana, just over 3,000 kilometers away. Now, if you are new to ham radio and maybe you don't have your license yet and you don't have a radio yet, digital modes are a way you can get into amateur radio and specifically HF for relatively inexpensive. So I'm using an FT891 as my radio, which I think I bought it about this time last year, and I think it was about 800 Canadian. So that's not really a high-end radio at all. Probably the least worst radio you can get for HF in that price range. But there's other radios you can get. There's one, the True SDX, which I purchased last summer. It's probably going to run you about $150, and it's fully capable of doing FT8 and HF. The downside to it is that it maxes out at about 5 watts, and it's definitely not going to be as good as a radio like the FT891. One word of warning too is if you are brand new to ham radio, using a little radio like that might be a little bit discouraging, but there's definitely options for you, especially if you're doing digital. All right, so that person was just finishing up a QSO. Let's see if they call CQ again. Probably do one more QSO and then we'll call it a night. Okay, so they're calling CQ again. I'll respond to it and see what happens. Yeah, so if you're still watching and this is interesting to you, I'd love to hear you in the comments. I have no idea if anyone's going to watch this video first of all, and if anyone does watch it, if they make it this far. I'd be pretty surprised. But that'd be nice. And my goal is, if this does go well, is to get enough subscribers or whatever YouTube requires so that I could do this as a live stream, which I think would be pretty interesting. So he's calling CQ, I'm replying. I don't know if they can hear me. Doesn't seem like it. So I might, yeah. I'll stop it after this transmission and see what happens. Might move on to something else. Okay, looks like I think it's a Russian station they're talking to. So they're probably more interested in making that contact than with us. So we still have a Mexican station here, which I didn't have much luck getting to. Let's see what else pops up. There's a couple Japanese stations. Where are they? Okay, where's the Japanese grid I don't have? Let's try that. Oh, hang on. I forgot to click on their call sign, so double click there and then. Yeah, so I just missed the tail end of that transmission cycle, so nothing went out. Okay, so they're still calling CQ, so let's call them back. Where in Japan is it? Okay. So 7,300 kilometers away. And they're still calling CQ, so I don't know if they can hear us. We have a few PSK spots close to them. So our signal is getting in their general area, but I'm not sure if they can see us at all. Okay, so it looks like they've started a QSO with another Japanese station. I'll give it a couple more shots. Okay, so they're wrapping up their QSO. Let's try calling them one more time here. I'll turn that off so we won't call them anymore after this. And I'll just see what happens. If they call CQ after this, I don't think they can hear us. Yeah, nothing seen there, so don't think we're gonna have much luck there. I'd like to get one more contact before I wrap this video up and bore you all to death. So if you see the little trees here on the map, those represent current Parks on the Air activations. I think they show all Parks on the Air activations regardless of the band or the mode. I am not 100% sure about that, but you can see K7 car. And if you're familiar with Parks on the Air, you are likely familiar with K7 car. They're just about always calling CQ. Yeah, Grid Tracker is a great tool. I've only just scratched the surface with it. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than I know, but I'm enjoying using it. Maybe I'll try this station. I don't think that was the same one. Was it? Maybe it was. Maybe I should try this one. Right, I'm going to change it. And if they come back to us, that's great. Oh, you know what? I don't think we're going to hear them because they're on different even odd cycles. Well, let's try this JG3 TRB. I think they might be in a QSO with somebody else. I think that's what this means up here. We'll let it go a couple more cycles and see if they respond. All right, we'll do one more, and then I'm going to turn it off and see if they can get us. I'm really hoping to get one more to wrap this video up, but we may not. No, nothing coming back. So let's just wait a couple cycles and see who's calling CQ. Maybe I need to move frequency. Looks like there might be someone on there. Let's scoot up here. I think things are kind of slowing down from when I first started. It's almost 8:30 on the west coast, so the 20-meter band is probably slowing down for the night. Yeah, there's not too much activity going on for CQs at the moment. Okay, if there's no new activity, what I'm going to do is I'll call CQ, let that go a few times, and then either make a contact and call it a night, or not make a contact and call it a night. Okay, let's do one more cycle and see if anyone new is calling CQ. It sounds like a strong station coming in somewhere. Okay, I don't see anything, so let's do that. So we'll start calling CQ on the next cycle and see if we get anybody. Once we do a few CQs, I'll go check PSK reporter just to, well, maybe I'll do that now. Bring up PSK reporter and see what we're getting out. So I have it just in the last 15 minutes, so you can see I'm starting to get a lot more Japan coming through. Let's see. No one responding yet. Now if I change this to the last 2 hours. So I'm doing, that's pretty good. That's typically what I'll see on 20 meters this time of the night. All right, what I'll probably do is I'm just going to let the watchdog time out, and if no new contacts, we'll call it a night. If I do make a contact, we'll log that and I'll end the video. Now, if you stuck with me this far, I really appreciate it. This is just an experiment that I'm doing. Very low budget operation here. I don't have a dedicated microphone. Probably a few other things I could improve. So if I end up doing this quite a bit in the future, I'll definitely upgrade. And if you have any constructive feedback for me, please leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. I'm just actually really curious to upload this and see if I get any views at all, and if there's some way to check if anyone actually watches this far. Okay, we got a contact there, Japan. So that's a square I don't think I have a confirmation on, so that'd be nice to get that. Okay, -15 signal report. Okay, there we go. With that one, we will call it a night. Put it in the logbook and get the ding from Grid Tracker. I'm just curious to see what happens. Sometimes if I make a few Japanese contacts out of the blue, I'll just get a whole bunch of Japanese stations trying to contact me. Oh, so he didn't receive our last message. So let's try it again here. So double click there. He didn't get the Roger Roger 73 last time. So I'll see if I can get that to them. Now I'll just get ready, just in case. So if I get the Roger -15 again, I'll send them one more message. There we go. Okay, so they've confirmed that they received it. Now, so maybe in the future I'll try this same format for Parks on the Air activation. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure if there'll be any interest in this at all. All right, well, I'm going to wrap that up. Thank you for joining me. If you're still watching by this far, you deserve an award. Hopefully it's not too boring. Okay, hang on. As I said, there's another Japanese station calling me out of the blue, so let's call them back. From what I've read online, I saw one post where I think there's some sort of chat room or forum that a lot of the Japanese stations hang out in, and when they make a contact, DX contact, they all let each other know and pounce on it. So yeah, sometimes I'll make a few and then I'll get a whole bunch of people calling me, which is kind of interesting. And I like making the Japanese contacts because they're fairly far away. And yeah, it's just kind of nice, kind of an easy DX station from my location anyways. All right, so we've got another one in the log. Okay, I'll let it go one more cycle and we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'll get any more calls. That doesn't look like it. Okay, well, again, thank you for joining me. If you have any constructive feedback, please leave a comment. If you want to see more of this, let me know and I'll do some more. I have no idea if anyone's even going to hear what I'm saying or watch this video, but it'd be great to find out if someone does. And we'll call it a night. Thank you very much. This is Bill, Victor Echo 7, Alpha Juliet Kilo.